So it's been a very long day today, 21st February 2024. The remains of Kelvin Kiptum's coach, Garvis Hakizimana, were interred in his native country, Rwanda. The Kenyan Sports Minister, Babu Namwamba, paid homage, paid a visit and attended the funeral service, donating 5 million Kenyan shillings from the government of Kenya to the bereaved family. This happening just days after the family of Mr. Hazikimana spoke to the media and refused to accept the autopsy report that was conducted here in Kenya. On the same day, the body of the former world marathon record holder Kelvin Kiptum underwent an autopsy by government pathologist Dr. Johansen Odwor, who went into details describing the death as gory in terms of the bodily injuries, particularly to the head, that was suffered by Kiptum in that road accident that was declared as self-inflicted by the police. So very long day. Ordinarily these are people who've been together, but then now they're separated at death, final rites, final acts on one hand, and Kiptum's funeral just coming up on Friday. So it just got a couple of things really that haven't sat well with me ever since the death happened, and I just want to go through really some of them as they come to mind. Like many people, I was a little bit taken aback when I saw that the police, the traffic police, were not the one that managed this. Ordinarily, to the Kenya Traffic Department would have announced the death and the circumstances under which a person has died. This was a tragic road accident. We saw the ministry, we saw Athletics Kenya officials taking center stage in making this televised address to the nation. It's never happened before. We didn't see this happening during the late Samuel Wanjiru's time. That time the police actually took charge. So this one, again, just giving everybody a lot of uncertainty and just unsettlement really in terms of why it had to be done that way. Number two for me was the issue of contract. We've learned that, of course, we've known all this time that Kelvin Kiptum was contracted to Nike. Then reports that he was also contracted to a second party while still, actively engaged with Nike. And the circumstances are as murky as they are at this particular point. Nothing is clear at this time. Maybe the agent of, Kelvin Kiptum will have to hold a different press conference someday and speak to the nation about it. Why that happened is an athlete they managed. Why he had to sign 2 contracts and bring in conflict, that threatened allegedly litigation and matters of, dragging Kelvin Kiptum to court. Over this. So I think the agent must be able to speak, and Athletics Kenya must also come out very clearly and tell the public what they know about that situation. Did they know that Kelvin Kiptum was contracted to 2 different companies, that each of them wanting his signature, wanting his fame, and just wanting the contractual preference, so to speak, in terms of the contract that Kiptum signed with either party. And where is Kiptum's money? He made millions of Kenyan shillings last year. He made thousands of dollars last year, winning 3 marathons. The first one, actually, we have seen someone just breaking through this time and just winning millions of Kenyan shillings. People are asking, where is his money? Where is the money? Because the government of Kenya cannot be scrambling resources to build a house for him in a record 1 week or 10 days. And we have seen just how Kiptum's family is living. And people cannot reconcile that with the fact that this was the best marathon runner in the world last year. He made so much money. He made so much money running, Valencia, running London Marathon, and running in Boston, Chicago, and winning that race and also setting the record there. So where is his money? And many people are just asking, again, where was all this going? He was supposed to be paid his money after all the doping controls had been done, and Kiptum's record was ratified, on 6th, and then he dies, on 11th of February. So that's just 5 days after his record had been ratified, and he was due to be, to be given his money from Chicago, and then he dies all of a sudden. And people just couldn't bring themselves after seeing the pictures of the vehicle and how the initial picture the wreckage of this vehicle. Not to advance any conspiracy theories here. I'm not a specialist in wreckage or accident investigation and stuff. One of that. But people looked at that vehicle and then compared to small knowledge of physics and how that accident would have happened and how maybe the car would have somersaulted first on the part which is heaviest, on the bonnet which carries the engine, and certainly this is the heaviest part of the car. But that frontal part remains intact, and then you see at the back elements of impacts here and there. But then that's it. And then he suffers very, very grievous bodily injuries, which leads to his death. And then the DCI, the Directorate of Criminal Investigation, and people from the Homicide Division, after Kenyans expressed so much doubt as to what may have happened, now the Directorate of Criminal Investigation coming in very late at this hour, retracing the steps of Kiptum from the hotel, from the car wash, from the last supper he had, the last people he allegedly met, and then, against all odds, he goes in an hour and a half later, or an hour after he had his last dinner and supper, then he crashes. And 2 people dies. He dies with his coach. And then there's a third person in the car, an alleged friend of either of them. At this point, we do not know who, but it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. What is important is that why has she not been allowed to speak to the media, to the public? It is normal protocol for media to go and speak to victims and survivors of traffic accidents, and just get to know what happened. The circumstance leading to that accident was there something on the road? Was there obstruction on the road? Did someone cross the road? Was there a motorcycle? Was there a border? Did an animal cross the road? What did this lady see? Why is she not speaking to the public? What is it that she saw? What was the last conversation they had? Did Kiptum sleep in that car? Did he lose consciousness? Did he black out in the car before the crash? What happened? Was there a struggle of some sort in that car? Were they arguing? What were they talking about, really? These are some of the things that people need to know. The last circumstance leading to that crash. This lady hasn't appeared in public. There are reports and verified reports that she has already seen the lawyers, and the lawyers have given her a non-disclosure agreement that she shouldn't talk, she shouldn't speak to the media at all costs, she shouldn't even write about this accident or anything about it. Look, we know at this time that she wasn't hospitalized. She suffered minor injuries for which we really, really wish her a quick recovery. She was discharged from the hospital overnight after being treated and such like that. She wasn't hospitalized for days. She didn't lose her memory. We haven't heard that part yet. But what we now know is that she has been asked not to speak about this one, not to talk to anyone, least of all the media or the public. Nothing. Hear no evil, speak no evil, hear nothing from anyone, and do not write about it. So this only adds to the controversy around the whole issue. And people are asking, why is she, irrespective of the relationship she had with Hazikimana or Kiptum, why is she not talking? Why is she not speaking to anyone at this particular point in time? Has she spoken to the police? Why has that report not been made public? What did she tell the police if she has spoken? And why are lawyers allegedly, telling her not to talk about this one? We've had reports and verified at this point, I must add, that people from Kiptum's agency themselves went to her and told her not to speak about this. So this only adds to the controversy. People really want to hear from her. It's like she owes us something. She owes us an explanation of some sort. What does she know? What did she hear the last time? How was that ride from Eldoret town to Kaptagat, that area? Was there anything leading up to the accident? We have been told that the police inspectors and mechanical evaluators and assessors have said Kiptum's car had no mechanical problem prior to the accident. So where is the whole conversation? Where is the missing link here? How could a man who was training in the morning, perfectly okay, the man in top shape of his life, the fastest man in the world this year, long distance runner of the greatest of them all, we can comfortably say that at this time, because in terms of the time, he was the greatest runner and the fastest runner in the world for last year. How is it that a man like that, with no health issues, no sickness, no illness, just collapses like that and dies in a road accident? Did he die of fatigue? Oh, and where is the toxicology report? Why is it that it has not been made public? There are people who fear he could, have lost consciousness. He could just have shut down, so to speak, whilst in the driving seat. So why is it, again, that we're having all this late drama late in the night? If it were indeed a traffic road accident, a tragic one, and a regrettable one as it were, then all these other questions that are now coming in wouldn't have arisen if there were transparency and accountability in the whole process. And people just seem to be asking also at the same time, where is Kiptum's money? Where are the millions he made last year? We've seen his father's homestead. We've seen how the government is scrambling to build a house for him at this particular point in time. This is a man that lived in a very fast lane. The government is trying to build a house for him, under record speed. But where is the money? Where is this man's money, the one he made so much money last year? Where is his money? So these are kind of things that people just want to ask. Is like, is anybody withholding his money? Why is the father appealing to the public for support if his son made so much money last year? He made $100,000 for winning Chicago Marathon, $50,000 for breaking the world record, $150,000, $150,000. That's more than 20 million Kenyan shillings in Chicago alone. In London, he won an equivalent of 33 million Kenyan shillings at that time when he won it last year. I mean, that's over 50 million. And we haven't even discussed the first marathon that he won also so much money, because he also set the fastest time at that time. So why is all this controversy about, a man that did not live a controversial life? We didn't know that part of him. Some of us are journalists who are really smarting, from knowing this man. He just came out of nowhere, as many people would. He ran, I think, Family Bank Half Marathon sometime in 2018. And I remember maybe I saw him there because I covered that event. Now, we spoke to him last year, and this year we were trying to get to him, okay? Just as he was building up to Rotterdam Marathon, waiting for him to peak and just speak to him and just get to know him as we have done for many other athletes. When all this is happening, give him time with his family, to try and get him to relax, to pile up the mileage, and then all of a sudden things just go haywire. And now all of a sudden, what we are left with are controversies for a man who was very humble, didn't live a controversial lifestyle. We had nothing to report about this man other than his good deeds, other than his records and maybe the money he made. And he made no fuss about it. He made no fuss about the money that he made. So why are we getting all this controversy now and at the last minute? But the people have to speak. We know who has to speak. We know that Athletics Kenya must talk. Really, they must have another press conference, a public press conference, and speak to us directly and specifically about the athlete management, about who was managing Kiptum, the agency that we know managed Kiptum, and how they may have allowed Kiptum to sign 2 contracts with Nike and maybe another company, and who knows at this time how many just they were. And what role did they play? Were these things brought to their knowledge? Is it something that the investigators will be interested in? Was there a fallout of this contract that may have led to Kiptum's death indirectly? Was he being chased by people? Was anybody after him or his money? What was happening to Kiptum? What was happening to Kiptum? Were there people who were after him because of his money, because of his talent, because of his reputation? And because now he was getting the hang of it, he was now getting into the best shape of his life, the best season yet We hadn't seen anything about. That man was talking about lowering the world marathon record time to anything under 2 minutes. Well, he was just 35 seconds above it. It was actually possible. It was completely possible. Based on what he said, based on what he had demonstrated to the world last year, he was capable of. So why are we finding ourselves in a situation where Athletics Kenya, the National Athletics Federation, just saw it fit to hold a press conference and just read a police report, and then that's it? There are reports about this man having been forced to sign contracts and leading to introduction of strangers to his family's house and stuff like that. These are legal matters that must be concluded, legally, and must be investigated at the very end, because nobody wants to go to that space. It's a very dark space. Again, the agency that was managing Kiptum must speak out and address the nation, must really tell us everything we need to know. So many lingering questions about this one. There also must be issues about transparency and accountability here. Some things are protected under, client and contractual agreements, mostly are confidential. But when the father comes publicly and say, I want help, I need help, of course, Kiptum's money wasn't going to his father, all right? Of course. So the issue of succession here must happen. We saw the controversy with Samuel Wanjiru and how people fought for his money months after he died. The father, the mother, wives, and just so many people, including accusations from the agency that they didn't remit all his money. Okay, something that they denied. But people just wanted the man, now that he's dead, his dues must be paid. And just gives us an idea that there could be many other Kenyan athletes suffering in silence out there. They aren't talking, they aren't speaking, they aren't reaching out to the media for fear of reprisal, for fear of revenge, and for fear of victimization by those in authority at Athletics Kenya or by their agents or other people within the discipline forces, where most of these Kenyan athletes belong, either the Kenya Army, the Kenya Defense Forces, the Kenya Police, the Kenya Prison Service, National Youth Service, and institutional teams where some of these guys are affiliated to. So those are kind of things that we want to see. So this closure will have to go beyond the funeral. When the remains of Kiptum are interred, another race should begin. Another race to unearth what may have gone wrong, what could have been done right, and just a race to closure. Something must be said. We need to know that Kiptum's family will get all the money, that Kiptum's father will have his concerns addressed, that Kiptum's family will get all his dues, all his money, all his bonuses, and his contracts will be, seen to the end in a way that is satisfactory to all parties. And the question is, just how many more Kenyan athletes are suffering out there? Suffering because they have been forced to sign contracts they know nothing about. They have been forced to, get into agreements they know nothing about. How many athletes are crying out silently? And maybe they don't want to reach out, but they cannot reach. Let Kiptum's death be a wake-up call. If you're a Kenyan athlete and you're going through the same thing that Kiptum went through, let it not kill you. Let it not kill you. No more. Speak up. Reach out. Reach out to your friends, family, journalists, and so many other people within your circles that you can trust. Do not suffer in silence. Do not sign contracts you are not privy to, you are not aware of. Language or, legalese, the language of the contracts are very technical. If you don't understand anything, please reach out. Do not suffer in silence. It could kill you. People suspect Kiptum was taken out because of his success, that he was a victim of his own success. That is apparently what is coming out. So Kenyan athletes who may be going through this or other issues that we have heard related to doping controls, others being threatened that if you don't give money, your results could turn positive. We've had cases, some of which are under litigation. We are aware of Kenyan athletes who are claimed to have been threatened. They have been asked for money. Officials have asked them to give them money. If not, then they miss a chance to go to the Kenyan team, to train with, to be associated or affiliated to an agency. And importantly, that Athletics Kenya officials, some of them are weaponizing doping, for monetary gain. That they are asking athletes for money. They are asking athletes for sexual favors. And those who do not comply, we've heard reports, and I'm saying this because it's something that has come to my knowledge, and I'm aware of a certain case that an athlete was asked for money. He paid a quarter of that amount, and then he claims that his results magically turned positive. And he has all the documentations to allege and to fight his case. And he tells me this is just one case. Others are suffering in silence. I have been to situations where athletes have spoken to me, but when you ask them for documentation and proof, they develop cold feet. They quit. They vanish into thin air because somebody gets a wind that you're going to speak to so-and-so, and then they are threatened. They are being threatened with specified and unspecified consequences, but most of which is that your results will turn positive. In other words, they are saying we will turn your results, into positive. And that would knock them out of commission for 4 years. So many Kenyan athletes are suffering in silence. I'm telling you today, do not suffer in silence. It will kill you. If you're a victim of excesses by athletics officials at Athletics Kenya, at the National Olympics Committee of Kenya, or any other sporting body within the Republic of Kenya, my humble appeal to you is reach out. Do not suffer in silence. Do not die. Do not suffer in silence. The media is there to help you. Journalists are there to help you. Let us tell your story. Let us speak to you. Tell us what is ailing you. Tell us what is eating you up. There is help. There are lawyers who could help you to do this arbitration or this, either adjudication, arbitration, or conflict resolution in so many ways. You don't have to go to court. Okay? Don't suffer in silence. Speak out. Reach out. Because many of you are dying in silence. We are losing far too many athletes on dubious grounds. At the end of the day, if you hear what they were going through, you wouldn't believe that they kept quiet all that long. All they needed to do was to reach out confidentially. Sometimes, in most cases, we work with so many other people to guarantee you your privacy and protection. These are some of the things that are happening. So do not succumb to fear, intimidation from sports officials because they want part of your money, because they want to be associated with you and your success. And if you do not play ball, then you pay the ultimate price. In this case, as we've seen in many others, it could result to injuries or death or missed opportunities in terms of having your results allegedly, turned magically from negative to positive. All those samples being swapped around, we've heard all those cases. Some cases are under litigation, some cases are under dispute tribunal. We cannot talk about them here, but that is the situation we found ourselves in. So as Kelvin Kiptum, the best marathon runner in the world for 2023, the fastest man on earth, over 42 kilometers, as he is getting, laid to rest. That is just one race of his life that he will run. He has gotten to the end of it. He has finished the race. Those ones who are living and alive must run the next available race on his behalf. The race to seek closure. The race about his money. The race about the contractual dispute that his father has spoken about. The race about his wealth and ensuring that his family, his children, do not suffer. Their father worked so hard. He made so much money. And the children must benefit. The family must naturally enjoy the fruits and sacrifices that Kiptum made over the year that he ran wonderfully. He beat everyone on the track. more questions than answers at this particular point in time. I'm hoping somebody somewhere will be courageous enough during the funeral and ask those difficult questions. As people are mourning, as people are assembling to give Kelvin Kiptum his final respects, I'm hoping somebody somewhere will take advantage of the public podium and ask difficult questions. Questions I have asked myself on this video. He must, or they must, ask those difficult questions, because it's about time we had very difficult conversation that could save lives of other people, conversation that would change the fortunes of other athletes, conversations and questions that will awaken everybody to pay attention to the suffering of Kenyan athletes. Difficult questions and comfortable questions that will blow the lid about the corruption at Athletics Kenya and how some athletics agents are working in cahoots with some rogue agents to fleece Kenyan athletes. Difficult questions about the role that some Athletics Kenya officials have played in Kelvin Kiptum's death. Those are difficult questions that must be asked. We are not asking it for ourselves. We are asking on behalf of many others who are right now languishing because they have nowhere to go. They do not have anyone to amplify their voice. They are speaking to themselves, whispering to themselves, hoping somebody would come to their rescue before it is too late.